All right. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I see that we have an extra high number of people waiting for the stream to start, so I guess that is a good sign. You all read the new title and hopefully it got you a little bit excited. Yes, we are. I am going to be writing a screenplay live kind of going forward here. And I'll show you exactly how that all is going to work in a second. Hello, everyone. Wow, there's a lot of people here. Soulfly, Fur, Zaman, Harsky, Spoongo. Is that how you say that? JB, Superteep, Karai, Vitamin, Fogarty Fox, JB Productions, Rhea, Space Junk, always here. Rhea's Reviews, Coco in the Discord, Thomas in the Discord, Gar in the Discord. What is going on, everyone? Alberto is excited. Good to see you here, Alberto. Golden Spoon also here. Welcome, everybody. Okay, so here's how we're going to do this. I was thinking for a while over the weekend, I was pondering what should I really be doing with these live streams, because I don't want to sit around and do question and answers forever and always, right? Doesn't make a ton of sense. So instead, I am going to be writing the screenplay that has been sticking in my soul for the last, I guess, like 2 years. And I have not been putting in consistent time on this script because I've been doing other things. Maybe that sounds familiar to someone listening here. And I have been making websites and course content and working with people and all this other stuff. But now, what I am going to do is come in here into this live stream each weekday, and this is going to be writing time. I'm going to walk you all through my screenplay, talk about how far I've gotten so far. I've written a first bad draft of this, and I've done a few outlines of it, so this is not just from scratch. But it doesn't need to be from scratch, because it's not about this project being totally and completely new as much as it is. This is the most important story to me. That is what I want to be working on. And that's why it has existed already in different forms so far. And now I actually want to bring this forward to you guys and kind of talk about what it is I've been working on here. And why I think this story in particular is so interesting. So let's do that. So I'm mainly going to be not really asking questions or answering questions and stuff in these streams as much. However, I am open to ideas and thoughts and questions as I'm going forward on this project. What do you guys think of it? What do you like? What do you not like? And again, the best place to discuss this, to ask me questions about it, will be in the Discord linked below. So if you want to get a closer sense of what's going on around here, ask me questions directly, that sort of thing, the Discord is the place for that. So I'm going to go ahead and come to my Google Drive that currently has this point in this current story's life. So my screenplay is called The Good Cult, and that is essentially what it's about. It is this story that takes place in modern time, where there's essentially a village society existing in parallel with the great global society we all find ourselves in today, right? The great capitalist, globalized ecosystem structure that we all sort of the great machine we all live inside of, right? Also discussed as the Matrix and these kinds of things. And so this is something that has really stuck with me for a while. And these are some of the old documents I had worked on for this. Let me see, when were these actually last worked on? So these are back in 2022. So the last time I worked on this was 2022. And I've worked on some of these down here I've worked on more recently, but I kind of want to come back to the beginning of me working on this screenplay and talk about why this particular story, out of all the stories I've wanted to work on, why this one? Why do I feel like this is the one to share? And so a big thing that I have noticed is this. in real life, right? Where nothing really binds people together anymore other than a sense of we all work at the same job, or we happen to live in the same location, or we all sort of go to the same Sunday service once a week and say hi and then leave, right? But nothing really binds people together in sort of a real fraternal way, right? We all are sort of living on our own in our sort of own ecosystem, or at least I feel like a lot of younger people kind of feel this way, where this sort of like deep strength of like Viking brotherhood or these sorts of things is essentially non-existent in our world now. We all exist as sort of the great peasantry together. And so this is kind of an idea that this is why it kind of has formed as this idea of the good cult, because fundamentally, I think what really creates culture, what really creates society, is groups of men who actually create a sort of protective bulwark of unity together, right? And then through that protective bulwark of unity as a fraternity of men, then they are able to create a sort of village of safety, a place of safety, a place where women and children and animals and all of these things can live and thrive and be at peace and all of this, right? But now we don't really exist in that world. We sort of exist in the forever outside, or the forever strange place, right? In the way that each of us pass strangers all around us all day, all the time. And even things like that I've always found really interesting, because why are we constantly surrounded by people that we don't know? Why does our world find its function in this sort of way? Why do we all sort of exist in our own spaceship bubble vehicles and pass by strangers all of the time? And that sort of becomes our reality. And so with this cult, and I wanted to kind of make this movie about a real, genuine community. And to a level where there's real ceremony about that, right? And I think that's where ceremony really matters in the world. We don't really have ceremonies that have deep, serious meaning to us now. I mean, even you can go back 2 or 3 decades and that you can find ceremonies of deeper meaning. But yet now everything has sort of been ironized, right? Everything is funny. Everything is a joke. Everything is not serious. And so people leave their families and travel across the country, barely speak to them. Our friends always leave and move and go and this sort of thing, depending on work or depending on, these kinds of things. And so then in a lot of ways, I think our world has become work or the internet. And I think many people get stuck in jobs they hate with coworkers they can't stand. And so this is kind of what has inspired me to tell this kind of story. And so through this movie, I want people to be inspired to deepen their own ties with their immediate community. I think we should see ourselves less as an individual in a nation and more as a person on a piece of land with a immediate and direct community. And I think we can do more and feel more useful when our world is much smaller. And now, we have these ideas about we're going to go to these big cities and be involved in these huge ideas that aren't really tangible, right? They don't actually mean anything because you are in a massive place full of strangers, right? And so we're in a world where it's very easy to leave our communities. There's no reason to stay when things get hard. There's nothing tying us down or forcing us to stick by people even when things are tough. There's no loyalty. And I think that there is another world that we could go towards that doesn't have to be so individualized, right? And I'm speaking again about America as the focal point in this idea. Other countries and different cultures have their own setups and systems and these sorts of things. But being somebody who's lived in America and traveled around America and been to many places and felt what it is to be American and understanding the history that we're taught and all these things, this is kind of what has made me feel this way. And I also think I don't know if I'm going to be touching on like 2020, this sort of stuff. We'll see. But definitely we live so much in the internet now, right? Even right now, you guys are listening to me over the internet, and I'm broadcasting over the internet. And so much of our day-to-day communication is now connected through the screens, right? So much of this is that way. And so this is kind of like how I'm seeing the story play out. There's a few key characters that I have so far. I don't think the main character's name is James anymore. I think I have him named Henry in this newer document over here. But essentially, I want to create these two sides of the story where one side is kind of think of it as like a Twitter or an X.com, right? Where it is the place where the internet news is spread, right? And so we're kind of thinking about internet news in that way. And then on the other side, and so this character that we have here works for this internet news corporation, right? Our Twitter.com, our X.com, this kind of thing. And so his boss, the person who owns this company, is going to be a big main character, a big fake ally in the story, as well as a detective or a detective mainly, who is essentially the symbol of the police and the force of the police against ideas like, cults or societies who want to live on their own off of the grid, right? And that is kind of a big thing that this story is pushing for in many ways, is thinking about just how connected to this sort of centralized grid we all are. This grid that has a lot of different components and parts to it and financial elements and all these things, yet really does exist as one unified idea that we live inside, right? It is a certain sort of set of regulations and rules and laws that govern how our homes are built, and that we have air conditioning, and that we sit in neighborhoods like this, and we all have addresses, and that we all don't really know our neighbors that much, and all of these things that sort of creates our day-to-day physical reality. And so a lot of this film is questioning that day-to-day physical reality in the same way that The Matrix, I think, tried to do, but The Matrix was kind of sending us into the computer in a way, even though the whole film is about getting out of the computer, right, in The Matrix. But in a way, The Matrix also sends us into the computer, because it's like, hey, you can have the superpowers inside the computer. And so then we watch these characters inside the computer having superpowers, and that kind of becomes what the film is about. Versus this is kind of saying, okay, all these ideas and these big structures that we have, they don't actually serve us, because they do not serve fraternity and community at the local level. And anything that does not serve community and fraternity at the local level means that power is kind of sitting at the top, right, in this vacuum hold, and then everyone else suffers because of it, right? Because wealth is not really about how much money you have as much as it is the organization of the physical world around you, right? Because money on a screen doesn't matter. What matters is the organization of the world you're inside of, right? Physically. What people are there? What land is yours and not yours? These kinds of things. And so that's really what I want this story to be about. And I also am going to create the cult beliefs of this cult here. And they are going to have beliefs that make them a cult. And that's going to be very important for this story, because this is about a community that exists outside of our current structure, our current narrative, this kind of thing. And so obviously, because they exist outside of our current narrative and our current structure, they will then have beliefs that reflect that. One of the things I have up at the top of this working document, this is the latest document I've worked in. I can't remember quite how long ago. When did I work on this last? Oh, this is just saying today. That doesn't really count. It's probably been, I don't know, a month and a half, 2 months since I've opened this doc up specifically. But I definitely have this kind of idea of faith versus fear in the film, and that being my central point, that from that kind of philosophical or belief level that I want to get across in this. And kind of how like so many things in our world are bound not really by anything physical, but by just a sense of fear. And part of that fear comes from not having an understanding of certain elements of the world you're in, or not being experienced with things. But it's also just a lack of a belief in a creator, a lack of a belief that you are fundamentally okay, that you are fundamentally safe, that you can trust God, these kinds of things. And so that's kind of the most distilled version of this philosophical conflict that I have in the story so far. In many ways, it's conceptually about modern day 2024 world versus a world that does not totally rely on strangers changing money for the function of society to exist, because that is essentially what we have now, which is our entire society works on strangers handing each other money, and then who knows what else is going on. So for this cult that I'm building, core tenets of the cult. Now this is going to be some stuff that I'm just going to throw some stuff at you here. So they believe the earth is flat. They believe the sun and the moon are the same size and exist in a sky not far away from us. They believe that heaven and hell are on this earth, in the sense that heaven and hell are vibrations, right? You create the vibration of heaven by living cleanly, by living in beauty, by giving love to the people around you. And you exist in hell by doing the opposite, right? By living in a disgusting manner, by projecting evil onto the people around you, by not showing love, these sorts of things. And so I also, a big thing that they believe, and this will come into their kind of initiation process that will happen in the story, is that your morality is in many ways is based on your resistance, which is like your ability to resist sin or resist comfort, right? So what happens is, from a moral standpoint, we are slaves to our bodies when we are not resisting our physical urges, right? And those physical urges can come in many ways. Many types of lusts and covetousness can happen. And we all struggle with different versions of those things, right? But the more we resist those things, the more we resist that sin, the more we push against, we resist, we sit in the place of discomfort and resist, the more our authority is built, the more our power is built. And so that's kind of why I think the most important battle is the battle between you and your beliefs, or the battle between you and your physical body. And that is in many ways where your strength comes from, right? Your ability to resist, rather than you being pressured, you do the pressuring. So I have some other stuff down here. Some stuff I have... I'm still trying to figure out, but there's definitely going to be a cult leader, obviously. And he's going to be kind of the mentor figure for this story. And so we're essentially going to see this character who is this like internet journalist on X, let's say, or sort of knockoff Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And his journey into this self-sustaining society that have wildly different beliefs, of him, of like in reality and this kind of thing. So there's definitely some research and things I need to do as well. So this is something I wanted to think about. There's definitely going to be an initiation into this cult, right? And this is something that we see in all kinds of different types of fraternities, right? Even at a frat house, right? A fraternity house, the most basic and most boyish level of brotherhood that you can find in the chaos that is college, right? You essentially get beat and whatnot to build brotherhood and bonding, and now you actually have some level of fraternity is the idea. You go to college, you get some fraternity by being initiated into this sort of small group of men, and now you've got a frat, right? But that idea of initiation is a very important one and exists in all types of religions and secret societies and these sorts of things, which is that like there is an initiation process. And part of that initiation process gives you a sense of what kind of beliefs that group has. And so this is something I think the biggest thing I definitely want in here, these are a lot of different things like tests and stuff. But one thing I definitely want to have is fasting. I think the most important element of this initiation is going to be a fasting, because what I have found, especially more recently, is the most important resistance you can do is by not eating. Like actually not eating things and allowing your spirit to rule over your body, right? One of the things that connects our minds to our bodies most tightly is constantly shoveling stuff into our mouths all of the time. And it's not going to kill someone to go a day without food, go a couple days without food, and see kind of how it gives you a sense of sharpness, gives you a sense of clarity. You also know, like in the Bible, Jesus fasts for 40 days in the wilderness, right? This idea that he is prolonged out in the wilderness by himself, resisting. And through doing that, thank you, UV, for the $20 super chat. I really appreciate that. And through doing that, he gains strength, he gains power. And then in that, he is tempted by the devil at a extremely high level, right? And that the devil comes right at this point of him going through this fasting, and the devil offers Jesus all of this worldly wealth and prestige, right? And says, if you will only bow down and worship me, you can have all this stuff. Why does that come right at the end of Jesus's fasting? Well, because Jesus is in his highest point of power and resistance against the devil, right? And so we get this moment of extreme strength, right? Because physically he is supposed to be horribly weakened. And hey, you can have this food, you can have these riches, you can have this power, and then Jesus still rejects it. And that becomes this symbolic story of the power of resisting the evil, resisting the devil, resisting all of the temptations and the lies that can come forward from the evil ones. So a lot of this is kind of messy. And I definitely need to I need to clean it all up, but that's what we're going to do on the stream. And so what I'm going to be doing in here is outlining this out with you all, working on the characters with you all, doing all of it with you guys on the stream. And so sometimes, I don't think I need that. Sometimes if I am just working on something on this, UV says it's INR, bro, not USD. Never mind, love from India. Hey, I still appreciate it. It's 20 either way, UV. I appreciate it. John Buska says the Amish are the Mennonites. Yeah, so the Amish have their kind of, I think they have a version of Christianity that they follow, and it is their Christianity. But yeah, like the idea being, but the Amish, they work together, right? They exist on their own. They exist in their own community. And through existing on their own and in their own community, they're able to sustain themselves. They're able to actually stand on their own 2 feet in a way that many of us do not do now. And so you could say, in many ways, that the Amish are quite wealthy from that perspective, right? They have wealth in community. They have wealth in shared land that is safe and that is useful and that is being farmed and grown together. Okay. So let's come down to kind of how I'm seeing this story play out at this point. Let's see. And yeah, try to talk about some of these characters as well. What about this? What's this document? Okay, this is like, yeah, this is a this is a wildly messy document. But I'm going to be showing you guys all of my mess so that you guys are not embarrassed of your own. You got to go into your messes and find what's important. Yeah, so this is going to be important stuff for characters. So I want to talk a little bit about the characters here. So the main character, like I talked about, I believe his name is going to be Henry. He works for this kind of X.com. He is a like journalist, online journalist. And essentially, we start by he is doing a story. He is prompted by his boss to do a story, like essentially like this propaganda hit piece on this cult leader, because they what happens in the very beginning is the cult comes to town, right? They do essentially do this ritual in the town, and the town's perspective in the very beginning of the story is that these are crazy like cannibals out in the woods, or it's just like a bunch of drunk gangsters or something like this, right? They don't really know who they are, but they have all sorts of stories, and like they're homeless. I have up here, like it's like a cult of homeless incels. This is the perception of the cult by the real world. And so our main character, who is going to be Henry, he is going to go do a story on this cult leader. And what happens is he essentially, through that, he learns more about this cult leader, learns more about what's going on, and he realizes that, hey, maybe the cult actually has more. It's more than just these crazy freaks in the woods, but they actually have a belief system. They actually have another point of view that is interesting and worth paying attention to. So he goes and seeks out the cult, and that's his kind of big choice here, seeks out the cult. Midpoint, kind of to Act 2 of 4. So in Act 2, he joins the cult, and then the midpoint, spoiler alert, but we're in a writer's room here, the cult leader is killed at the midpoint, is how I see it right now. And he is killed by the cop. He's killed by the detective, not being one of our main villains here. And so this stuff, I'm still not quite sure yet. Mason seeks to expose Burke. Burke's exposed, doesn't matter. We will see. But that's kind of at least gets us halfway, right? The kind of joins the cult. This is kind of our big midpoint. Joins the cult. Midpoint here. Cult leader is killed. And then sort of the 7, the climactic choice after the midpoint is cult is scattered and defeated. So something like that. All right. Okay, so that's kind of how I'm seeing it. Let's see. How do I have this hard? Story 1: entering the cult, makes it realizes, seeks out cult members, integrates into the cult. Final initiation. Cult leader is killed by Burke. This is the detective who was waiting for him. The cult scatters and now hides. The cult leader is dead, and that's kind of the first half. So the cult leader is a character that I need to get clear on. I gave him a name for a while, but I don't know if it's going to be his name. But essentially how I'm seeing this cult leader character is he is what you would think of in many ways as an old school, like someone who would actually do this kind of domestic cult leader in the woods. Like people consider him the T word, T plus terrorist. Like he's kind of out there, right? He's not somebody that can integrate into the normal world, and that's kind of what makes him dangerous, and that's why he starts this cult. And he has all these ideas about morality. And he himself, this character, you could almost think of him as like an Abrahamic character, or like a Moses kind of character, or even like a Noah, right? Like if you remember the story of Noah builds this boat over 100 years, and the entire time there's a world with Noah, right? It's not just like Noah and his family. There's all these, this is a whole society, a whole civilization. And Noah's building this boat because God tells him, hey, I'm going to flood the earth. You better be prepared or you're going to die. And so then he builds this boat all this time, right? For 100 years he builds this boat. And everybody's laughing at him, making fun the whole time. But then it rains. And Noah survives, right? And so I'm thinking of this kind of person with a strength of spirit. And I think that's what seems to be missing from my perspective in some of the stories today. And I think this is the kind of thing that we look for, right? We look for a person of real spirit and real strength. And that has this sort of unwavering strength to them. Even in the face of extreme obstacles to the contrary, they hold to their view and they hold to the truth. And this is kind of the kind of character that I want to go with. David Wright asks, Morpheus. Yes, this is kind of a Morpheus character. However, what I think is interesting, it's interesting that you bring up Morpheus, because Morpheus is still part of the Matrix in a really interesting way, right? Morpheus is separate. Morpheus captured. Morpheus is separate from the Matrix, yet at the same time, he is very much a part of this world. He can be captured within it, right? He is very much in this world. And so I believe that as a species. But yes, in human. Okay, pause. But yes, in certain ways, I think this character does have similarities to Morpheus. Yes, also kind of a David Koresh figure as well. I actually have him written up here. Where is that? I think I talked about. Yeah, David Koresh. So if one doesn't know, there was a massacre that happened in Texas, in Waco, Texas, where there was essentially a community living on their own, and the federal government went in and killed them all. So I'm not going to play all that. The Branch Davidians were their name. Different kind of thing, right? In certain ways, but they were women and children, and it wasn't like a motorcycle gang and this kind of thing. It was, a commune, and that's also what I want to have here. I want to have women and children in the commune, right? It's not just 20 men and it's like this militia. It's like, no, it's a community. It is a society. It is a commune. It is a culture on the small scale, right? And I think that's really what I want to depict here is society on the small scale, because we don't have that at all. Society on the small scale, everything is so big, so fast, right? Like even in you go to a small town still has like 20,000 people in it. That's an absurd number of strangers. It really is, like we all just accept this because it is the world that we have grown up in. But it is absurd. We live around an absurd number of strangers. And what's that about? What's all that about? I don't think it's that excellent. But okay. I just want to sort some of this stuff out. Saving the call. Yeah, and then I've got my actual kind of working outline right down here, and I can get into that in a minute. That is where most of the work will be done. This is another thing I want to show, that the cult leader has a brother who is a pastor, a normal pastor in the town that's nearby, right? And so this is like specifically, if we're thinking about this locationally, there's going to be a town or like a city of a decent size, right? Let's say a few 100,000 people or something like this. You know, it's not like they're not outside of someplace huge, but they're outside a substantial place. And then there's the cult, which maybe there's like 200 people total in the cult or something. I'm not quite sure. But the cult leader is the brother of a pastor, and a pastor is still a pastor in this town. And so I kind of want to show this change or this difference between the sort of pastor who is living as a religious man, yet doing it in such a deeply compromised way, versus the cult leader who is also a deeply religious man, but is doing it without that same level of compromise. And that is the kind of they kind of create these two sides of levels of religious or truth compromise, right? Where you have things that you've got to do to sort of, go along to get along and fit in society and be this kind of person. And then this other character that is so resistant and rebellious to that he can't function within society, right? And so through that, now we have this clear contrast between, and there's pros and cons to both, which is, again, right, something that I want to show very clearly in the story, is that, of course, there are pros to continuing to engage with many people, to not be out in the woods all by yourself and only with a few, but then there's compromise in that. And in the same way, you have this character in this cult leader who is super uncompromising, but it also has fully cut him off from the rest of the world. And we have this kind of back and forth here. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and so even here, like over the cult leader, I have him like, and the whole his purpose is to very much be a character that cannot exist authentically within the society that we live in now. That's his purpose, and that's not necessarily going to be our main character's purpose. Well, I need to figure out names, although we'll have to see. But like Owen Benjamin, for example, is a very controversial comedian who no longer lives in Los Angeles. He lives out in Idaho on a ranch, right? He is so his own niche that he is doing his own thing entirely, right? And so in that way, he very much kind of becomes his own mini cult leader. Like he does his own comedy shows out in hayfields because comedy clubs will not put him on because he's so extremely controversial. And so that's kind of the idea. And again, like Andrew Tate is an extremely controversial figure, right? And had a lot of intensity. And this is kind of what I want this character to hold. And this is part of the reason he dies in the story. Because he cannot coexist. He doesn't see any reality of coexistence whatsoever between the two worlds. And part of what I want to do through the main character of the story is find a way to say, like, okay, what is the connection here? Like, what is the can there be this connection between the internet world of the city and this sort of thing with this kind of cult-like commune idea? And that's also what I think can happen in the sense of I think we could do a world of internet city-states, right? Like a world where we have more localization, but through this utopic idea of a free internet that stays on and, that actually we have, then through that we can have healthy separation, yet also be able to share in each other's cultures and each other's truth and news and all of these sorts of things in a way where we could help those who needed help, right? In a way that was actually, doable and easy to see. Okay. Yeah, so this is an old idea I had. I thought it was going to be a self-driving car company at first, rather than a news organization that is the company that our main character works for. And the reason for that was because I started off with this concept of dirt bikes versus self-driving cars. And I've kept the dirt bike side, but I've kind of dropped the self-driving car side. But what I was going for on this conceptual standpoint is that roads with cars are a way to keep us in pretty restrictive areas of land, right? That's how they function. So we have this city, and in the city we have all the shops and the things and the food places, and we go through that planned ecosystem on the roads, and those roads have our cars, which we have the license for, and everything sort of fits all nice and perfect into the system that someone else created. And one step forward on that is self-driving cars, right? The idea that you don't even get to control the vehicle you're in. You just get to sit in this thing and be on the predetermined road, and that's what your life is. And so I was pushing against that with the other side of the concept is dirt bikes, because dirt bikes can go anywhere, right? You can take a dirt bike off the road, you can take it up a mountain, you can take it over hills, you can take it down into valleys. It doesn't need the road. It's like a horse in that way, right? It's kind of this modernized horse. And so I kind of wanted the men of the good cult to have this Wild West sensibility to them, that they kind of live out in the woods a bit, that they know how to create campfires. I don't know if you guys have played Red Dead Redemption 2, but in that game, you are a cowboy and you run around and you can start campfires and you can fight people and all this sorts of things, right? And I want to have some of that Wild West energy in this story, to say that hey, the land we are on doesn't have to only be cars and paved roads and gas stations, right? That it can actually be this free land, this sort of frontier, this open land. And that's what I'm kind of going for here. So this stuff, initiation ceremony, serious ramifications. I don't know what's going on here, but this is the actual outline. So I'm gonna, let's see. Think of it as cults or widows. Yeah, these are all just kind of ideas up here. So I've just got my idea bank. My idea bank up here. I'm gonna say story outline. Start here. Okay. And then I want to make sure this is full story circle outline. Do heading 1. Okay. Okay, so I had some scenes here. This is already getting into the scene. Okay. This is already so messy. Already so messy. Okay. So, yeah, Act 1 is going to be meeting the cult. I want to make this heading 2. I like stuff to be clear, so you're going to see me going around making headings a lot for the for the beginning phases of this journey. Okay, this is heading 4. What is this one? This one is 2. Okay. We'll just go 3 on all these. 3. Yeah, so I had kind of different scene outlines, and this is kind of what happens is it all becomes messy when I don't regularly work on it. Supposed to be 2. Yeah. So this is Act 2. There are 4 acts in my screenplay. Okay. And then Act 4. So, I have an idea of how it ends already. This is kind of the climax right here, built out. So, and I also have some music here. This is like from a Playboy Cardi performance, and I've got some of this. And then this is kind of old stuff. Maybe I keep some of this as ideas above. And then, yeah, it's survival stuff. Okay. Okay. Not quite sure why my stream decides to be buffery. Apologies for that. If you're getting some buffering, I can't really do too much. The internet is just freaking out for no reason. Okay. I really don't want a scene to scene outline right now. I want to get my story circles right. So yeah, so Act 1, we're gonna have our character. I'm gonna name him Henry. So yeah, I had this opening scene. Colt does an initiation ceremony for one of our characters. They're like aliens. They live crops. They live a symbol or crop circle type of thing. I think this is going to be some sort of either it's going to be a zodiac symbol, like it's going to be like the symbol of Aries or Taurus or something like this, or this is going to be a chakra symbol, one of the two, like a root sacral chakra, something like that. But I'm not sure what. But I want to have this kind of cool opening scene that will probably even exist pre-meeting our main character here. And then we meet him because he's covering this initiation ceremony that happens in the town by this cult, and they haven't seen the cult in like 7 years or something. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, what's going on with these people? And then Henry is given the task to do some research on these people. Aiden on air says, hey Tyler, what's this for? Improvement, trying to sell? I'm not trying to sell any screenplays ever again. I want to make this, and I want to write the screenplay, and do it with you all. Jason says, do you have a Word document like this for download or for sale, just something to see as an example of your process? Yes, sir, I do. If you click the link to join my Discord, which is below this video, it will take you to a rules channel in that Discord. And then at the bottom of that, you will see a Google Drive link with my story framework documents that you can use on your story. It is free, and you can make a copy of those documents and make them yours. Okay, so yeah, then I want to go to Henry. We have citywide news being put on by Henry's company, right? This is our, It's going to be like our X clone. We meet this character. We meet Detective Burke here. We're also probably going to meet head boss character, which I've currently named him Ephraim. Henry at work talks to coworker while watching the news. This is going to be Ephraim. Shots on by some guy. We'll see. Something like this. Yeah. Representation. Yeah. Okay. Ephraim comes in. Ephraim coming in. Oh, yeah, so we have two. Yeah. Okay, so we have, like, corporate boss, and then we have Ephraim. Yes, okay. Yeah. So we're going to have a couple different characters here. We're going to have kind of a corporate boss, and we have kind of a head boss. And this is something that also is kind of be up in here. So we've got Henry. We got this cult leader character. And I'm going to make... Let's go, like, heading 3 here. So we can keep these characters straight. Cult leader. Okay, so then I want to have this. I want to have this pot smoker character for sure. I'm not sure what their name is yet. Probably starts with an S though. I don't know. I'm gonna placeholder Sam for now. Yeah, so essentially his kind of thing is like the whole idea of resistance in the cult is helpful for the people that are in the cult, right? Because they're actually, it is a religious cult as well as a community. And so we have this character that's going to be kind of struggling with drugs throughout that. And then while the cult leader is alive, this character does very well with their drug use. And then when that cult leader dies, and we get that kind of act 3 of chaos here, where the kind of the cult turns on Henry, the cult scatters, we're going to have that be shown in our different characters, and kind of what happens with them. So yeah, we're going to have this character. Let's call him Sam for now. What size are these? Heading 3. Okay. Really hope my live stream is still up. It seems kind of not really working right now. Thomas, am I looking for a writing partner? Throw ideas that you have for this script in the chat if you have them. But I'm the writer here, so I'm writing this. And just that is the same for your story, right? So as you are writing your story, you are the writer, and then people's ideas and suggestions are just that, ideas and suggestions. And they don't have control over your story, but they can offer ideas if they are able to see your vision and help you see that forward. So yeah, Ephraim is going to be this big boss. I think of him like as an old Sam Bankman-Fried kind of character. Or like what Sam Bankman-Fried was trying to be. He's also like, you could also think of him as like kind of an Elon Musk sort of character. Also, he travels a ton. So this is kind of a big thing, is like never in one place. And again, I want to show this contrast between this internationalism versus extreme community, right? Where... Oh, interesting. Joseph is saying, the German boy's name Henry means house ruler. This name receives its meaning from the old German name Heimerick, in which Heim means home and Rick means ruler. Interesting. From kings, industrialists, and celebrities, this name has been given to many influential people throughout the years. That is a great note, Joseph. I appreciate you saying so. Casey says, I wonder if it's useful to know what the cult thinks of the land. What does it symbolize? Well, I think that's a good question, Casey. Casey's talking about what is the kind of what does the cult see about the land? And I think there is this connection to like the land equals love in the sense of we have the earth, which really, if you you bring the H to the front, it creates heart, right? And so that's kind of what we have. If you look at the chakras, let me look at the chakras here in a line. So this is what the cult believes. Let me find a good example here. No, I don't want a poster of. Let's just do like this. Okay. Can I make this bigger? Control plus plus plus. Go in. Okay. Okay. So the heart here, right, in the chakras, you have your heart is symbolized as your physical heart, and it's kind of the place of acceptance, love, compassion, sincerity, this kind of thing, right? This is also the center chakra, right? Because then you have 1, 2, 3 above, and then 1, 2, 3 below, because you have 7 chakras, right? God's number, the holy 7. So we have the 7 chakras. And so the middle chakra is the heart chakra. And so it's interesting that the heart chakra is green, and we have the earth is green, right? And so this is kind of why heart and earth mirror each other, is because the heart is green and so is the earth, because we live in the heart of the reality. We live in the heart plane. We live here, right? And there might even be realms below us, who knows? And there's probably some realms above us, but this is kind of the center point, right? The physical world kind of exists on this heart level. This is kind of the wavelength that we see at. And so that's kind of what I want to show here. Where is my current working document? Okay. That's kind of, yeah, the heart land, absolutely. Silas, and okay, I'm getting some good character names here. This is really good. Hold on, let me come down. Joseph suggests Silas, which is also man of the forest. I really like Silas. I think Silas is really strong. I like that. Sylvester Wooded, Silas, the man of the forest. Yeah. Yeah, and so I'll have to see if I'm going to do, is it just going to be weed, or is it going to be like harder drugs? I'm not sure yet. This is something that I float back and forth on. Okay. Yeah. Silas is a fantastic name. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. All right. Okay. So I was kind of working down here. Oh yeah, I want to have like my circles, but yeah, I'm just going to take us through this is the scene to scene outline right now. The current scene to scene outline. So just to give everybody a sense of where the heck we are in this thing. This is kind of where we're at. Oh yeah, also, so since we're throwing names out, anybody have an idea this guy's name? This kind of cult leader name. Like, I was even thinking, you could go old school with it, right? You could go Abraham, Noah, Moses, right? You could go real back in the day with it. You could also do, there's like Owen or Andrew, right? I think Owen is an interesting name, kind of modeling him in certain ways off of that kind of Owen Benjamin sensibility. But yeah, and then even like having almost like an Amish or Mennonite kind of sense to him. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I was even floating with some really interesting ideas, like trying to pull in some of the BLM stuff into this and create this like real sort of Joker character, but we'll see. Yeah, actually, I might play some of this backstory still in. We'll have to see. He starts to put 15 minutes on a call later. He's wrong. He's right. UV, thank you for the next super chat. He said, "Hey Tyler, sorry for interrupting, but any chance you could do a video on South Indian Telugu films? Would love to hear your thoughts on them." No promises. I might get around to it, but it might not be super soon. But I will do my best. So this Luke character, this is an ally. So I need to kind of antagonist. This is gonna be main mentor. Talk says Jedediah for the Cartland. That's an interesting name. I'll throw that one down. Definitely has that Amish feel to it. Detective Burke. I like the name Burke for some reason. I'm gonna keep going with Burke unless I get a different name. And then Luke, this is going to be a close ally character. I guess, yeah, probably is the place for him. I'm going to bring... Detective Burke is going to be a major opponent. Is he the true antagonist? No, I don't think so. But he's definitely a major opponent in this story. And this is another thing that, like, I want to build into this cult leader character is this sense of like religiosity, or like this godlike voice power. One of the things I really like about, like, if you look at the internet, you may notice that a lot of times people are speaking with power, and that creates their following, or it creates their energy wave. It creates the direction that they're going on. And so I think people who have this sense of strength of voice, this strength of tone, that really matters for their ability to lead. And I want to create that in this character here. Is this kind of, almost like 1800s Christian pastor feel, or something like that, to where, like, he's got a real sense of religiousness to him. Coco is saying the cult leader doesn't like people questioning him and wants them to believe him blindly. So that's not the case with this character. So I think a fundamental belief of this character is the truth is over all religion. Truth is supreme over all religion. This, I think, is the most important belief this character holds. And I think this is part of the reason that sends him off the ranch, as it were, is that he has this belief that makes it hard. And I think this is where his clashes with his brother will come in, right? Clashes with his pastor brother will happen kind of about this, because his pastor brother believes the opposite, right? That like we must go with religious tradition overall, right? And so this, I think, is a big dilemma that you see back and forth in the world today, and I think in all types of stories where you see a man of truth, a man of God, interacting with the tradition, right? That's what we see over and over. That is the Jesus story as well, right? The man of truth, enlightened, seeing reality for what it is, and his battle against the Pharisees and the Sadducees, his battle against the tradition leaders, right? The leaders of tradition. And that tradition takes form. It takes many forms. It is not simply religious tradition. It is also cultural tradition. It is governmental tradition. It is monetary tradition, right? There's all sorts of traditions that can be at play here. And all of those traditions sort of form their own repeated systems and patterns and flows and these sorts of things. And that's kind of what this cult leader pushes against. And kind of this is like what I want to do is create this character who's in the middle, right? Who bridges this gap between this cult leader world, or this world outside the matrix, as it were, the physical matrix, right? Because I don't want to talk about this computerized matrix. The matrix is mental, but it is a physical organization. And to remove oneself from the matrix is to remove oneself from the physical organization. And so, I want to have this kind of like religiosity in his voice. This is something that like I don't even know if I could pull up easily online. But like, say what you want about Andrew Tate, and I don't think he's, this beautifully wonderful person. I think he has a lot of darkness. There's a lot of darkness that surrounds him, and I think he's been through a lot of dark things. But he has a certain sense of religiosity, or he has a sense of power in his voice. And I think that power carried in his voice is part of the reason he has become attractive to young men, and kind of why he became the most Googled man in America in 2021 and 2022, and why you see this person kind of have this moment before he was silenced. And it was because he had such a powerful voice, and I think part of it was, he had no humility, and he got large enough to where others came in and said, "Hey, it's time for you to be humbled." Mookie MC says, "Is the person in the middle the reporter?" Yes. I want to create this. This person in the middle becomes the reporter. This is our Henry. So he is our like Twitter/X internet influencer / reporter. That's who we have here. And this is our protagonist. Yeah, so we'll see. I still have all sorts of stuff to key belief, need, want. Yeah, again, my clean documents are available in my Discord. So if you click, they're for free. You can get them in the rules channel. Casey says, "I like this tradition versus truth concept, more cutting a new path theme." Yeah, excellent. Joseph says, "Most tradition is contrary to truth. That's its raison d'être, the purpose of its existence." Tradition is giving a vote to your dead on what's to be done. True. True. Yeah. Yeah, so Casey's saying he likes the dirt bike idea. Yes, so I want to maybe come up here somewhere under my characters and kind of talk about the concept here. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to create a little concept section here. So we kind of have side one, which is, I'm going to say like the modern city matrix. And then we have side two, which is the cult. And so in here we have roads, police cars. In the cult we have dirt bikes. So one thing I want to have is there are no roads that connect to the cult or to the commune. This is very important. They do not exist in the road system. You must travel through actual nature, uninhibited or unchanged nature to reach the cult, right? It is its own sort of city state. It is its own sovereign place. And then we're going to have like X/Twitter/ even I want to kind of call this like the internet culture. The internet culture. This will also be symbolized by like the workers. The workers at X. And then, these sorts of people. I also want to have like the church here. So maybe it's like, see, I could have like a Catholic church, but I could also do like some sort of Protestant church as well, because they are. I could have like a Catholic mass, but then I could also do like a Protestant church. I'm not sure. Both of these become upholders of tradition. Upholders of tradition. Upholders of tradition, and then we have like the cult belief system, which is essentially a knowledge of the truth. This is how they see it. And so this deals with chakras. This deals with the zodiac. So this is astrology is going to be here. Like understanding the zodiac belt, understanding this sort of stuff. I know I was talking to you guys a little bit about how the story circle kind of matches with the seasons, and the story circle and the seasons also match with the zodiac belt. And the zodiac belt is constellations that are in the sky above us that the sun and moon move through. It's like the actual river of constellations that the sun and moon move through. So the zodiac is not simply, and astrology is not simply like some girls filling out quizzes online about who they're compatible with. It is a scientific system. And it might not be your scientific system, but it is a scientific system that many people throughout history have used. And so this is part of the cult belief system, is they have this this scientific they have a system that combines science with like, let's say mythical history, or would you say like mythology, and like knowledge of the stars, this kind of thing. Joseph says, an astrology mapping is on a gold bathrub in the Pope's chambers in the Vatican. That is not a rumor. Yeah, so there you go. The Pope himself is saying that astrology is so important that he mapped it in his chambers. Isn't that interesting? So, okay, this is interesting. Casey's saying, I was just thinking something. The dirt bike is cool, but it has a level of distance from the natural vibes of getting back to your roots, which I think may need to be discarded for horses. They are also quieter and more harmonious with nature. Yeah, so I thought about that of like, do I use horses instead of dirt bikes? But I really think it needs to be dirt bikes, because what I also want to show through this story is that the cult is naturally connected to the modern city matrix, whether they want to realize it or not. It's almost like there is no escaping this, in a way where, like, so for example, they use dirt bikes which need fuel, and I also like certain supplies must be gathered in the city, and so this is why you get like occasional trips and rituals from the cult happen in our modern city side, because there's this natural connection to them. Like they are not, no matter, they might even have like future projections to be this fully autonomous world, but they are fundamentally connected to the modern world, and that's kind of what I want to show here. Okay, it still looks like I'm getting all kinds of issues with the internet connection. I don't know if that's the case or not, but we are going to rock with it anyways. I might try to change some settings, but I have an Ethernet cable now connecting this computer rather than a Wi-Fi, and I thought that would help. But let me know in the chat, YouTube, if you guys are getting a lot of buffering, or if it is working for you. I might have to change some settings around, but if it's all messy, I'll fix it. Okay. Harsky says, will I be writing the screenplay in this live as well? Yeah, I'm going to do everything in these lives. Stephen Hoover says, the film The Circle explored a techno cult modeled on Apple with Tom Hanks playing the charismatic leader. Yeah, The Circle definitely is an interesting movie to look at on that side of like, yeah, this kind of mega software, hardware company, like this tech company with all this power. That's kind of how I want to show this, but I'm not 100% sure yet. Also, one major reason, probably one of the biggest reasons I have decided to go with the dirt bikes for the cult is because how easy it is for dirt bikes to run away from cop cars. Because cop cars are fundamentally connected to the roads, right? Like, let me see here. And so even though dirt bikes aren't that fast compared to cop cars, right? Cop cars are going to usually be much faster. They have an ability to duck and weave and go different places. Wow, I'm just getting unbelievable buffering right now. Just unbelievable unnecessary buffering. Howdy. Wow, this buffering is just insane. Anyways, you get the idea. Dirt bikes can be off-road, right? That's the idea here. And they can also be more maneuverable and easier to get away from police than horses, right? That's the thing that makes horses not great for this, because you know, you have to run away from the cops with horses. Like, you're not going to get very far. But with a dirt bike, you can actually get somewhere. Can I get a thumbs up in the chat if the stream is working fine? I am, like, over here, it's showing me chaos. Like, that it's totally buffering. It's acting like things aren't working at all, but giving me no way to fix it, so I don't know. Discord saying it's great. That's good. Okay. Yeah, let me know in the YouTube as well if the YouTube's working, guys. I appreciate it. And then, yeah, this is actually part of the concept as well. Some of the things that I've been thinking about, like serious ramifications of what it actually means to leave the lie, right? What it actually means for someone to step out of this modern city matrix and enter into this cult. That's what a lot of the first half of the story is going to be about, is, you know, doing our hero's journey out of the normal world into the new world, right? And so halfway through, we're sort of integrated into that cult, and then we're kind of bringing them together in the second half. That's what I want to show here. Do I really care about this? No. See the future of the corporate conversation as safety. Don't care. No, don't care. Don't care. World. I mean, that's gonna be true. Yeah. I mean, some of this will be true, but I know this stuff. I don't need to write it down. Initiation ceremony. See, this is going to be interesting. I don't exactly know how this is going to work, but it's going to be a fasting, and it's going to be like a multi-level faster. Multi-layered fasting. That's the whole key. Not just fasting of food, but fasting of sugar, fasting of nicotine, fasting of alcohol, fasting of all of it. And that is the leaving of the system that we're showing. Coco, you can find the full live version on my on the YouTube channel after the stream is over, under the live tab. Got you. Okay. Cool. Okay. Yeah, so some of it's also going to be with the screens, like multi-layered fasting. The screens are going to be part of this, right? And this is probably another thing I really want to get bigger into this as a part of the modern city matrix, is the screens, right? We're always in the screens. Our entire worlds are in the screens. We live in the great black boxes, right? I've got 3 monitors in front of me now. You are all listening to me through the boxes. No. Invent a company that has cameras all over the city. So I'm probably going to do something like that. The cameras are an interesting thing, right? I mean, the amount of cameras that are in our world today is just unbelievable. You can't go on a freaking walk without cameras being set up on every walkway, right? Yeah, this is going to be early. This is going to be narratives. Yeah, this is some kind of piece here. Yeah, these deadly senses. I don't know if I need this anymore. Jumping into different things. Greed, sloth, lust. I mean, this one I think is going to be biggest. I think lust is the biggest one. This character is going to have some sort of lust issue for sure. Okay, so yeah, this is like close ally. No, this is incorrect. This character is going to be important. Robbie. This is kind of our younger character that also wants to fight in the story. Like, he and the cult leader are kind of wrathful against the modern world in a way that not every character is, but they definitely hold some of that energy. Maybe security safety yeah, this is part of the pastor. Maybe I even make him a Protestant pastor. That might just be the best. Heading 3. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, definitely non-violent. Wants to go along to get along. So, and I think this is another thing that I want to show here, because I'm somebody who grew up in Protestant Christianity. And one of the things that I have felt about Protestant Christianity is that it has a lot of, especially modern American Southern Protestant Christianity now, is that it has a lot of weak traditions that are repeated yet don't have a weight of sincerity all the time. Because ultimately they lack fraternity. And when you lack fraternity, you lack sincerity of rituals. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. I am speaking for myself, Fogarty Fox. That is what a screenplay. That's what we're up to. And coding overloaded, considering turning down video settings. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what I've done. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, video viewers will experience buffering. That is unfortunate. I will have to fix that when I'm off stream. But I'm gonna continue a little bit more. Let's see. When you try to play the video, it was worse. Better now. Okay. I'm gonna make it for another half hour. I'm gonna keep going for another half hour, and then I will stop. But I've also recorded this stream as well, so I might just upload it back later if I need to. But the mother of the cult leader. So this is what I want to have here, and this is an important character. So the mother of both these men lives in the modern city the story takes place in. She is the bridge between the cult and the modern world. So if a message is to be passed to the cult, or from the cult to the modern world, she is the place to start. And so what I want to do with this character in the beginning of the story is that this mother character is connected to, or Henry is able to find this character. Henry is able to meet with this character, have a connection with them, or with her, and through her, that this is how he meets Luke, which is the first cult member that he meets. And this ends up being Luke is his closest ally, and he is ultimately Henry's most important advocate in the story. I'm also thinking he's kind of like a Cancer in the Zodiac. Robbie is more of a Scorpio. And then we'll see about these other ones. But yeah, so then Robbie's is going to be this kind of more violent character. That is part of the cult. And he's kind of like a muscle character. And is younger. Okay. So that gives us a decent chunk of our initial characters here. Silas is going to be an ally. Silas is an ally. I can bring him down, though. I don't think he's this... He's kind of around here. Yeah. So we've got, like... I'll say these are the kind of cult members here. Just like heading 2. So we've got Luke, we've got Robbie, we've got Silas. All these characters are going to be cult members. And then this guy is... These two are not. These go up here as some of our bigger characters. So we got the Protestant pastor, we have the mother, the cult leader. We have major opponent in Detective Burke. We have our prime antagonist in the Big Boss. Is the big corporate boss. And he also has kind of the small corporate boss under him. And this is Henry's direct boss in the story. Will be under this character. And then there will also be, as there are cult members, there will also be company members. Company members, right? Corpses. The corpses. Corporate people. Okay. And so there's a character I had thought about, like Lana here, as like a coworker that he works with on the Twitter side. So I'll be honest with you all. At this point, I don't have a ton of well fleshed out feminine characters yet. I've got a decent chunk of guys, and then definitely this mother character. And I have this idea for like a Lana character, this character who works at the company. But I'm not seeing... I kind of want this story to have like a... I don't know if I'd say Indiana Jones, but have kind of this Western adventure kind of aesthetic and feel to it. And so how that exactly is going to translate, we will see. But, you know, maybe even like almost an 80s kind of vibe to it. But I'm not sure quite yet. Okay. Let's see. So yeah, we have the fasting ceremony. Seeing out something cool. Maybe the court reaches out to him. Don't need this. Yeah, multi-layered fasting from the screens, from the food, from other negative habits and forces like drugs, alcohol, any physical thing that brings down your spirit. And I don't know if I want to have... This is a little bit confusing to me, but I like the 7 deadly sins specifically. I don't know what these orbits really... don't really help me. Yeah. Lust, chastity. Lust versus chastity. Kind of generousness. Greed versus charity. Sloth versus initiative. Thomas says he's working on his own story based on the sin of pride. Tell me about it, Thomas. Gluttony versus generousness. So, lust versus chastity. I don't know. I think this might be something that the main character deals with. We'll have to see. It might also be like pride versus humility. But I'm trying to get that sense of the key lie of this character. Like, what is it that they don't see? Like, is it a level of danger? Or are they overconfident? Do they lack humility? Something like this. I'm not sure. Okay, we got our antagonist. We have Detective Burke, our pastor. And I think this is kind of a fake ally. We'll have to see how it works. This character is kind of like our oracle. I think the mother of the cult leader kind of becomes this oracle character, because she exists. She's this character that goes between both worlds. Lust versus self-control is a good way to say that, Joseph. Lust versus self-control. So she's kind of this oracle, right? In the same way that in the Matrix you have the oracle. Matrix oracle. This character.
Almost done. Oh, what's really going to bake your noodle later on is, would you still have broken it if I hadn't said anything? Through and through.
So she has knowledge of both worlds and this sense of both sides in the story. And I want to show that. And I think it's going to be very important that her sons are split. And I think that will help to create this strong sense here. And then I'm going to definitely need more cult members. This is not enough. I want to create at least like 8 to 12. And then there definitely needs to be more coworkers and these kinds of things. But yeah, this is a sense of the ideas I've been working on here. Deadly sins versus these virtues. I kind of want to place some of these. I think there's a certain gluttonous or covetousness that I want to touch on that I feel like is a huge element of our kind of billionaire class, or our sort of like the people who have control of our financial systems and these kinds of things. There's a covetousness with these people, right? And part of the reason that the society that we live in is not wonderful and beautiful, but is gas stations and advertisements, is because of this covetousness of the people whom rule us. And I think that's kind of something that I want to show through this primary antagonist here. And I want to show that like this antagonist controls the media. right? That is essentially what Henry works for, right? This Twitter, this X, this kind of thing, like, AKA controls X or controls Twitter, right? They control not just the traditional media, but they control the new media, right? There's been a lot of discussion recently about the new internet media and how we've broken through certain ways of how information can flow and all of this. And I think that was true up until fairly recently, right? I think within the last 3 to 4 years, the old systems of media have adjusted, right? And who was controlling the media before is now putting those same restrictions and things on the flow of internet information and the flow of how we speak to each other here. And so, our parents and our parents' parents might have watched Fox and CNN forever and ever and ever. And it used to be very easy to just make those two places how you gave people news. And that was broken because of the internet. And now we have an adjustment of power based on that change. Yeah, and I kind of talked about the small corporate boss being gay. And I think he definitely will be, or he will be effeminate. That will be a big defining element of who this person is. And I think this is something that you see all over corporate America right now, is this sort of wave of effeminate bosses. Like even if you look at like TikToks and people kind of making fun of corporate life in America today, there's this effeminateness to the entire thing that's very interesting to see. And I want to show that here. This guy's talking about Antarctica. I gotta have flesh in Antarctica. It's very interesting. Casey says, I feel like covetousness is the engine of marketing and materialism based in modern capitalism. Yeah, I would agree in a lot of ways. I don't know. I feel like I need this for something. I feel like I need these deadly sins for something. I just don't know what. So I'm going to leave them there. Okay. People are asking me what document system I'm using. This is just Google Docs. This is free. If you just create a Google account, you can get this for free. Daniel asks, how do you avoid things feeling overly generic or formulaic or cliche when taking this approach? I do a similar type of planning and it sort of ends up hand-holding you towards something pretty standard. I don't think the ideas that I'm discussing in this story are standard. It's not about, like, this idea that you need to create a different structural medium as the tool that you are expressing a story through is stupid. You are expressing a story through the intelligence and the clarity of and the importance of the ideas that you choose to grab. It's not about whether or not you have structural beats that are functioning. It is about, or whether or not you are being non-conventional about structural beats. It is more so, what is the story you are telling? How are those ideas interesting? Because then if you have interesting ideas, it won't matter the quote unquote standardization of your story structure or any of this nonsense. It doesn't matter. It's much better to tell a story that's interesting. And essentially, the climax, how I want this to end, is Henry saves the cult through the power of the internet. This is how I want it to go. So this actually brings up another great point that I need to work on, which is the townsfolk, the townspeople in this city. Because I want to have a sense of like people online, townspeople, and then maybe like online people as well. Because there's going to be both of these, and maybe they will also be the same, where someone online interacts with Henry and gives him hints or clues. And then maybe we also have townspeople that the townspeople are affected by the media and the actions of the cult and hold their own point of view on these things throughout. I also want this to be let's say the elites will exist in this story. And these will essentially be like the friends of our antagonist. The elites, friends of our antagonist. These will be party goers, big investors, suit wearers, company owners, these people. Those who are in the know, these kinds of people. And so we will kind of have like this townspeople, people online, the elites, which are the friends of our antagonists. We'll have the company members who actually work for this company, right? Including Henry at the beginning. And then other coworkers as well. So I have a lot of characters to build out here. I think this is what has slowed me down a bit. I want to create... and I think the townspeople will likely be connected to the church. Online people are connected to the social media platform. The elites are going to be connected to our antagonist. And so it's going to kind of function this way. So online people, ideas for these characters. Someone online interacts with Henry, gives him hints and clues, and just like other people following his journalism of the cult, people who hate what he's doing, people who vehemently believe the cult is full of like cannibal Satanists and want them all arrested, killed, this kind of thing. David Wright asks, will the cult be willing to use violence to survive? That is a great and important question. And I think that this is where the midpoint of the story is going to come in. Because I think there is going to be a violent clash at our midpoint, and then I will show how that is ultimately not the answer here, and that the cult cannot survive through military violence. It doesn't work. Yet there is a way that they can survive, which is what I want to show in the climax. And what I want to show is that through knowledge, and I think through sharing the reality of what is going on to the townspeople and to the online people, the cult can be saved. Because I think part of the reason you have Waco be Waco is because you don't have the internet. Right? Waco existed before the internet. Waco exists before somebody in there could have had their iPhone and live stream out being raided, right? These kinds of things. And so that's kind of where I want to take the end, is that like one of the valuable things that we have gained through these screens, through these boxes that we all carry around with us, is that we get to carry our morality with us as well. We get to be present through these screens for important moments where morality has where something immoral is happening, right? For example, in like wars that are happening in the world right now. Like people are protesting genocide right now because they see it. It is in their face. They cannot get away from genocide because people in Palestine have iPhones and they can record what's going on. And so through these kinds of, like this is a, this is the reality here. Coco asks why the cult leader wants to run his cult. What is his reason? So he essentially has a backstory that I've kind of worked on some, but he has this backstory where his backstory is essentially what set him out of the cult before the internet age, right? So now he's this somewhat depressed yet still fighting man who has such a disdain for the corporate entity that has taken over all of America. And so then he creates this cult, and then he doesn't know what to do after that. But then the invention of the internet happens, and that brings in our protagonist. And that is kind of my thesis here, which is that we can be free, but we must embrace our local community to earn that freedom. And we must also embrace truth. Because if we do not embrace truth, then we just exist in chaos forever. So that's what I want to show. So yeah, I need a lot of characters here. So, and these are going to be minor characters, and I'm sure I'll think of them more and more as they're coming in. But I'm thinking like a gas station employee, churchgoer, maybe someone in local government. Maybe like a farmer would be interesting. Let's see. What else would I want? Maybe it's like a DMV worker would be interesting. Oh, that's also something I want to have is, where's my concept down here? Modern City Matrix, something it licenses. And then none of the cult members have any documentation or paperwork. No licenses, no social security cards, no birth certificates. They are off the grid. Okay. Yeah. Something like that. So it would be funny to have a license scene, like where Henry goes and like renews his license, and it's just like the stupidest thing ever. And it, because we have to do it, we need licenses for everything, right? So yeah, I think that's an interesting sargassous employee, churchgoer, farmer. I think someone who's homeless may also be helpful. I think there needs to be some sort of like bridge between the homeless and the cult, in the sense of maybe they have someone who tells them the truth about what's going on, or they have an informant of some kind. Yeah, license, insurance, permits, exactly. Yeah, all these things, licenses, insurances, permits, all these are the modern city matrix. Okay. Yeah, I have to keep working on these characters. Okay, online people, yeah. Following his journalism, people who hate what he's doing, people who vehemently believe, yeah, these are kind of the same people. Yeah, these people will kind of be a blur. Partygoers, big investor, suit wearers, commoners who are in the know. Yeah. Yeah, other coworkers. Yeah, I don't know what these people's names are going to be. Yeah, but these are kind of our big chunks. We've got a lot of big chunks here. So we've got cult members. That is going to be a chunk of people. This needs to be way more members here. Did I have more? I don't think I need this. And this is old story circles. I don't need this. Characters. Fake ally. Cult friends. Cult leader. No, this is wrong. No. Hometown friends. Yeah, this is all useless. Don't need this. Okay, how about this? Does this have any characters in it? Yeah, thematic argument, this stuff goes in that other document. Yeah, this is probably helpful here. Thinking about the big ideas here. Which is this kind of like modern world, very nihilistic, Luciferian comfort, cult world, religious, communal meaning, and hardship. We kind of have these two worlds that are opposed. Okay, so yeah, I had parents involved, but I don't know if that's going to be the case. Karen, cult leader. No. Friend, this is all pretty weak stuff. No. Covering, that's the druggie. I have him. Okay, Lana is Lana again. No. Xavier, no, I don't need any of this. Shout out top development. Let me see. I don't think I need this. Yeah, this is just old outlines. I don't need it. Yeah, I might have a father character in here. like, here's what I'm thinking. I think I'm going to have a, like, comfortable parents character, and they uphold the modern world. So they have, like I had over here, they've got investments, 401k, steady paycheck, nice house, jet ski, this kind of stuff. Very secure. None of this is useful. Nope. Nope. Okay, I had some old stuff here. But yeah, I don't even think I need it. No. Cult leader dies. This is something I did want to do. Okay, let me come back up to here. This cult leader. So I had some ideas that, like, the cult leader is, like, actually well respected in the individual town, but it is the narrative. Like, he's this kind of living legend, possibly. And he has lived his whole life in this town, right? This is a key point. He has lived his whole life in this town, I think. So that's what I want to show. So then in the town, I want to show people who knew the cult leader from the past. So maybe knew his family, maybe knew where he grew up. And these could be people that Henry initially goes and speaks to when he's doing his initial investigation of the cult. So the beginning of the story being Henry is going out trying to find this cult. And so he has to start by people who knew this cult leader from the past. And these are other townsfolk, because this person has been living in this town their entire life. Yeah, so I'm not sure if he's going to actually be this living legend or not. I got to think about that. But I definitely want him to have lived in this town his whole life. Yeah, so I definitely want him to have this backstory that he's a convicted felon. And that's another, like, again, these words, they are important, right? Because he is a convicted felon of the system, of the machine. Which is, so because he's a felon in that system, he can't get a job, right? Of course, because how do you get a job in the great capitalist corpo world if you have the wrong points? Yeah, very optimistic about things. Believes this is all for a purpose. Believes his brother needs to be saved. Yeah, so this is something I want to go with a lot, right? Is that he believes his brother is not saved because he believes his brother clings to tradition and not the truth, and therefore is not saved. David, I think you're getting caught up in the specific definitions of, like, if it's a cult or an organization. I'm using the word cult very intentionally here. for a purpose, to drum up the feelings associated with calling it that. Because everything is an organization. Everything is. Organization is the most basic word for this. It is we are showing, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that gives it... This is a start, but it is definitely not done by any stretch of the imagination. And then I had this kind of first or second or third... I don't even know how many times I've done this scene outline. But big picture, this is the story, right? You can think of the entire story from act headings. Okay, there's 4 acts. So I'm gonna show this, and then I'll probably wrap the stream up after this, and then we'll be back tomorrow. So Act 1 is going to be meeting the cult. This is where our character Henry, he meets the cult. He is also, doing the journalism about the cult because of this initiation ceremony that happens. Act 2 is the initiation of Mason. That's essentially what's happening here. And then ultimately, the initiation of Mason plus the midpoint. So we kind of have the first half of Act 2 is the initiation of Mason. And then we're going to have this big midpoint. And that's going to be our dark climax. And then Act 3, the cult turns on Henry. The cult scatters. This is like essentially cops win kind of thing. And then Act 4, Henry reforms the cult and keeps it alive. And then in the end of the film, the cult survives and maintains its autonomy and does not die. That's the end of my movie. And that's kind of our big pieces there. So yeah, that's the movie I will be writing with you all over the course of who knows how long. And I'm a big believer in the outline and this sort of thing. Interpersonal community versus the Matrix. Yes, Golden Spoon, that's a great way to say it. That is definitely a good way to say it. Thomas says, so this script is going to take up the whole week. Thomas, this script might take up months. Who knows? But I'm going to be doing more of the Q&A type of stuff in my writers group. So how it's going to flow is rather than doing tons of Q&A here, I'm going to be working with those who are actually doing writing in my writers group. And this is the new function of the live streams has begun today. These live streams are story building live streams. You can use this time to see the story that I am building and maybe use it to inspire you to write your own. Or you can use this time to turn on the stream and give you ideas for your own story and work on your own story with this stream up in the background. But that is going to be the function of these streams. And so what I want to do is have the YouTube channel, the actual videos coming out on this channel that are not streams. They will be my course material, essentially. And then I will have the writers group, where if you want to work with me and other writers, I will have that group. Right now it's not open. I'm making some changes to it. And then the streams are going to be me working on my screenplay in front of you. I will work on this all the way to the end. And then we might even do table reads and all types of fun stuff. We'll see how it all goes. But yes, David, Henry becomes the cult leader in the end. That is the end of the film, as it stands now. Maybe that changes. Screenplays can change and grow and morph as they get older. But that's what we're doing. I hope this has been enjoyable, entertaining, maybe a little bit informative and helpful to you all. And again, I want to Complex. These will be in a playlist on YouTube. Yes, they will be in a playlist. And I want to use these streams to do some writing. Like actually show you guys, hey, I'm writing regularly. I don't want to hold things behind paywalls and all this junk so that like you guys never actually see anything that's cool or interesting. I'm trying to get away from the paywalls about things. John Nelson says, I loved it. Excellent. Glad to hear it, man. But yeah, if you want to join the Discord, links below. If you want to support me and what I'm doing or work with me on a screenplay, you can go to my website, practicalscreenwriting.com. That website will also hold the free course, and the YouTube channel will also hold my free course as I release it in pieces. And then these streams will be where I am writing The Good Cult. This is an idea that has sat on my mind for about 2 years now, and it will not leave me alone. It is like the big idea for me. Kenneth asks, does music give any inspiration while writing? Absolutely. So I actually have an idea of what I want the musical themes for this story to be, and I'll probably walk through those in a later stream. But absolutely. Astera says, seeing a screenplay actually in action helps so much and is super interesting. Great. I am very glad to see that you all enjoyed stream 1. And hopefully, if the stream recording is a little bit messy, I will upload this as a YouTube video. And other than that, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed today's story writing stream. I'll see you guys in the writer's room tomorrow. Y'all have a good day. Peace.